Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build a really connected webinar experience by integrating a tool called Contrast with your HubSpot account. I've been working on a big playbook for them around how you can implement a lot of the things that you'll need in your webinar program inside of HubSpot. And it was also one of the first tools that I bought myself when I was leading growth at Arrows. So let's go ahead and build an event from scratch in Contrast. We go to schedule, one-time event, and then we are going to give our event a name. So we're going to call this How to Build a Deal Hygiene Dashboard. I'm going to paste in a description that I already have here ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and find the cover image that I want to use. I can crop and save that. Once that is uploaded, I'm going to come down here. This is going to be a live event at a scheduled time. I'm going to pick a date in the future. Let's go with Tuesday at 11 a.m. I'm going to say it's for an hour, and I'm going to go ahead and add myself as a speaker. And you'll see here that you can add a bio, you can add a profile picture. I would certainly recommend doing all of that for each of your webinars. You can also add speaker profiles on social. So we have that added. And then you'll see down here, you also have the option to add to channel. So Contrast gives you this really nice option to host all of your webinar content in a hosted page where somebody can come and see everything that you have produced after the event. So a really nice way if you want to have your replays hosted. And then if I go ahead and save this event, that will be created. And we can take a look at some of the other really nice features inside of Contrast that make it just a clean experience to set up webinars that you want to share and get folks to and have a great experience so that ultimately you're engaging them, you're educating them, and they come away feeling like they have more affinity for you, trust your brand more, and ultimately may move further towards being a closed won opportunity in your pipeline. So let's take a look at the emails which Contrast sends. Automated emails around webinars is one thing that's really nice to have sort of taken care of, because you'll see here there are a lot of emails that we want to send that you need to make sure are sent at the right time with the right information. And Contrast will do this automatically, but also allows you to customize all of these things as well. And as I'll show you once we go into the HubSpot side of this, you can send these emails out of HubSpot if you would like. There are some reasons why you might want to do this, but Contrast gives you everything that you need to automate your webinar emails out of the box. So we have registration confirmation, replay confirmation when somebody is signing up for our event, either before or after the event is live, and then reminders before the webinar event begins, and then follow up after the webinar is complete with the recording automatically, which is really nice if that's something you want to get to your attendees as quickly as possible. We also have the UTM builder. This allows us to really dive deep into attribution, into where our webinar registrants are coming from inside of HubSpot. Shows us a list of all of our registrants with some information about their engagement. So have they attended, have they viewed, all that kind of good stuff. And then analytics, once we have hosted our event, we'll see where were folks most engaged, at what point during the event were there the most attendees, where was there a drop-off, and finally polls. Contrast provides some really nice tools for engaging folks inside of the webinar, which I will show in just a moment, to make sure that folks are staying, you're giving them a good reason to stick around and engage with your content. Okay, so let's go into what happens once you have run your webinar on Contrast and you have folks who've been interacting. You want to see what is going on with your contacts who are already in HubSpot, who you want to continue to engage and build the relationship with them. So here's my own contact inside of my HubSpot account. And here you can see all of the activity that Contrast logged for just one webinar. Here we can see the contact was created by Contrast because it didn't already exist. It shows the registration with the name of the webinar that I registered for, just I viewed the page. And then up here we have actual engagement in the webinar itself. So I answered this poll. What is the most frustrating part of running a webinar program? It gives details of that. And it also shows things like how much of this event did I attend live. So in this case, 78% was live. And then I also came over and I watched the replay as well. And you'll get all of these things as events inside of HubSpot. And there's also properties that Contrast will be updating inside of HubSpot as well, which allows us to do all kinds of interesting things. So let's get into that a little bit and I'll sort of walk you through some of the functionality that contrast enables for your webinar program in HubSpot. So the first thing, sort of a simple one, but if you don't want to use contrast native landing pages, native registration pages for your webinars, and you just want to use a HubSpot form and put that wherever you want, whether it's on your website or wherever else you want to put a HubSpot form, you can do that. So HubSpot has their form submission event, which we can use as a trigger in a workflow, and then Contrast has a register webinar attendee event. So we just put in the ID of the webinar, and that will add that attendee or that registrant into Contrast so that you can do things like automatically email them, make sure they have the sign up link to attend the event. We can also get access to all sorts of contrast data in events. You can see them in the timeline record inside of contacts, but you can also access them inside of workflows. So in this case, this is a workflow for lead scoring, where we're looking at the completion rate of their live attendance being above 70%. But if I go over here to criteria, scroll down to contrast webinars, you can see there are all sorts of different categories of data which Contrast is giving us. So it has webinar registration, live view properties, replay views, poll votes, live watch time. And if I click into any one of these, you'll see that it gives us the length that they were accessing the webinar at, the percentage that they watched live, when it occurred, and the name of the event. So you can then use that information to do things like build a lead score that includes your webinar engagement data. So in this case, we are using this enrolled in workflow event criteria. So we have a workflow for logging contrast registration activity, logging attendance, logging replays, and specifically live attendance that is over that 70% threshold, like we just showed. Include these in your lead scoring, and then just treat them as another category to make sure that you are putting the right contacts in front of the right people and with the right experience at the right time, and being able to integrate your webinar data as a key data point in that decision making. You can also use contrast data to surface contacts who are engaging in your webinars more directly. So we could use the live completion rate, again, greater than 70%. We also have, is a member of this ICP account contacts list, which would just be a native HubSpot list. And then we can go ahead, send Slack notification, enroll them in a sequence, do all the normal HubSpot things that we would with a contact who is showing high intent, but now we can just do it based on webinar data. And then finally, because Contrast is making a lot of this data available as properties inside of HubSpot, we can also use it to go ahead and build out a webinar dashboard for our program. This example here is showing movement through different lifecycle stages as it relates to their webinar registrations. You could also base this on attendance. You could filter this in all sorts of different ways. But you start to be able to get into, how much pipeline are we actually influencing with our webinar program, and which webinars is it coming from? All these kinds of things that you can break down. So both pipeline, revenue, and then also registrations. You can report on that in HubSpot directly, along with where your registrations are coming from, or using contrast data inside of HubSpot. So hopefully this is sort of an overview of what's possible with the contrast integration. There is the playbooks over on connectedgtm.com, which will show you how to set a lot of this stuff up step by step. There's also the new Contrast HubSpot Academy, which will have a full in-depth walkthrough of everything that you could possibly do with Contrast inside of HubSpot. They're really investing in the integration, making it much easier for teams who are using HubSpot to run a webinar program in one place. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be doing much more sort of unbundling or unwrapping of HubSpot apps. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you like this format, if there's anything that would be helpful to see from an integration perspective, and I'll see you in the next video.